Hey everyone, I want to talk about something that kind of almost gets us into trouble when it comes to children. I don't know about you, but it was kind of in our genes that we would one day, become adults, get our, sorry about that, get our education, at least high school, possibly go on to college or join the military, etc. And then eventually someday you would get married and have children. So it was ingrained. It's just the way it was. And so, because I was raised Catholic, that's not just the only reason, but I want to discuss something that I think is very poignant when it comes to having children. A lot of people either have children because it's ingrained. They have them to fill a void, to band-aid a pain, to make them feel complete, or to have a do-over. And the parents that want a do-over normally live through their children when it comes to things they weren't able to fulfill in their own lives. Either sometimes the moms were beauty queens and they want their daughters to do it, or maybe mom wasn't a beauty queen, but yet she's living vicariously through her daughter. And so I want to say, when we look back and think about why we had children, it may help us to realize why it's so very difficult to let them go when the time comes. I had my children. I had my oldest daughter got pregnant in the military, and I thought just having children was normal. And looking back, I had been in a relationship with a man I truly, truly loved. It was my first love at the age of 18. So, anyways, he was, we started a relationship in the military. Um, we saw each other all the time, and then I kind of sort of thought, or people would say, he has a girlfriend back home. And well, we're in the military, no one's going home on leave. And I thought maybe it's just a high school thing. And then when I got pregnant, he said, well, I'm engaged to so and so. And when I get out of the military, I'm going back home to her. So in my 18, 19-year-old mind, I thought, well, at least I'll have a piece of him. And that's just the way it was. And that was my way of thinking back then. And I love my children, and I wanted them, and I was excited to be pregnant. But that at that time, my daughter was brought forth into what had been a loving exchange between two people, but it wasn't a forever thing between two people. And at the age of 18, 19, you're barely cooked. Even though you can serve your country because of your age, I don't think a lot of us are cooked, and our idea regarding love, etc., is very new. And so when I got pregnant, I love being pregnant. I love being a mom. Labor and delivery was pretty easy. And was I filling a void? I don't know. I don't really know, because that is over 30 years ago. And then I got pregnant with then I ended up marrying someone after I got pregnant with my first, met another guy. I got pregnant with our second, and he said he wanted me to be pregnant while he was gone in he had duty orders to go to Korea, and he wanted to get me pregnant before he left so that I wouldn't cheat on him. So um, we ended up, I found out I was pregnant right after he left for Korea. I found out I was pregnant. So then I had my oldest was only 9 months old when I got pregnant with our second. Um, I worked, I had to take care of them on my own. He was stationed in Jeju-do, Korea, came back for the birth of our second. Then he went back for a month to finish his tour. And so it was tough. Um, and ended up having a really, really, really rough relationship, to the point where it was terrifying. So all I know is that I brought two children into this world under very, very unhealthy circumstances. And I did my best. It wasn't until years later, even after my daughters decided to part ways, that I finally got therapy for traumas that I had suffered at the hands of fellow military individuals that I had served with. And then I started to build my self-worth after that. And then I realized that it was not my children's responsibility to fill that void, to make me feel whole, to put a band-aid on my owie and help me heal. That's not what children are brought into this world for. But a lot of parents say, oh, just fill the void. And if I just had a baby, life would be complete. And I'm not really a woman unless I get pregnant. And it is so devastating when either you want a baby and you can't have one. Number two, you can't have one naturally, or you have one and it's not what you thought it was going to be. So all I know is that a lot of us struggle when our kids leave. I did. I was a mess. I was a wreck. I felt like I was losing my mind when my children were gone. But that's because I had put them, I think it's because I had ingrained them so much into me that all I knew was being a mom and having them in my life, and being able to count on that as being a constant, that when they left, I didn't really quite know what to do. So I know most of us go into having children for our own individual reasons, but when we look back and we say, well, I had kids for this reason and they're gone, so now what? And we could see why we struggle so much. And my children haven't been around in a while. I have a new life. I am now married. I have a home. I have dogs. I have birds. And I've created a new existence for myself. So I just want to say, whatever your reason was, if you're struggling when they're gone, time to take a deep look at the why you had them in the first place. So anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about, and I'll be back.